In today's video, we're going to speak about solving equations. So before I go straight on to actually solving equations, I do want to mention the order of operations first, because it's really important that we understand the order of operations first before we go on to actually solving any type of equations. So I'm going to be speaking about the order of operations first. Now I am going to go with first with the basic type of operation, and that is addition. So I am going to start with addition. Now it's very important that we understand which ones are opposite to each other. So if I speak about addition, the opposite to addition is subtraction. Now, addition is most of the time a plus and subtraction is a takeaway like that. Now, you need to understand that a lot of additions of the same type of numbers, it's multiplication. So it's very important to understand that multiplication is actually repeated addition. In this way, we won't make any mistakes when we speak about the order in which we do specific things, because if we understand that multiplication is just repeated addition, then it's obviously that we're going to have to do multiplication first before addition. And most of the time I'm going to be speaking about times when it's multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. And again, we can think of division as kind of a repeated subtraction. And the way I'm gonna represent that is by using this divide sign. So that's the sign I'm gonna use for division. Now, also, it's very important that whenever we speak about division, you understand that division is also a fraction. So I'm gonna put it over here as well. Every single time we speak about a fraction, it's also a division. So when we say 3/4, we actually mean 3 divided by 4. So it's very important that we make the connection that a fraction is a division between two numbers. And obviously, repeated addition is multiplication. Then we have repeated multiplication, which that is sometimes referred to powers of different numbers, or we speak about that as indices. And that is something like 2 to the power of 2 or 3 to the power of 4 and stuff like that. And the opposite of these powers or indices are roots. Now we have square root, which is just like that. Then we have cube root that has a little 3 over there. Then we have the fourth root, and so on. So we have different type of roots, and that again is the opposite of doing the power and indices. Now this goes in order. So obviously if we have addition, multiplication is on top of that, and then powers and indices are basically multiplication, so they kind of go either at the same time or before, if you don't want to get confused. Now obviously in time, people wanted to make sure that you know what things to do first, and because they wanted specific operations to go before these ones, they've started using brackets. Now, when they started using brackets, they came up with different type of brackets. So we have the round brackets, we have the square brackets, and we have this kind of like curly brackets, I call them. I'm not 100% sure how you really call these ones. So you have these ones. These are the first type of brackets you have to do. If you have multiple ones, then you go on and do the square brackets, and then you do the curly brackets. So this is the order. You always do brackets first because they tell you what specific people want you to do first, and then I would normally do powers and roots in the order that they appear in the question. Then I would do multiplication and division or fractions in the order that they appear in the question. And then I would do addition and subtraction. Now it's very important you know these ones because when we have to solve equations, we have to know the order in which specific things are going so that we can actually do the opposite of each things. And also I've decided to put them like this so that everyone knows that the opposite of addition is subtraction and the other way around. The opposite of multiplication is division or the other way around. And the opposite of powers or indices are roots and the other way around. So that's why I wrote them like that so that you know which one is the opposite of which as well. And that's going to help us a lot when we actually do want to solve equations. So I'm going to start with the first examples on solving equations. Start with the first examples on that. So I am going to go with the basic one, and that is going to be, so I'm going to call this number 1. The basic one is just when you have one operation, so something like 2x equals to 6. Now you also have to know that just in case there's nothing between the number and the letter, most of the time is a times. So this is the same as 2 times x equals 6. So now I need the opposite of multiplication, and I can look over there and I know that's division. So I can divide, and I have to divide by the number over there, so I divide by 2 on both sides, and I'm left with x equals to 6 divided by 2, that's 3. And that is the solution I am looking for. Now this is on multiplication. I can do something like x plus 3 equals to 9. And again, I have a plus over there. I'm looking, the opposite of plus is subtract. So I need to subtract on both sides the 3. And I get x equals to 6. Now, understanding what happens over there and the fact that I'm doing the same thing to both sides is because this equal sign means that whatever I have on the left side is actually the same as on the right side. So it's kind of like a balance. When you have two things and you want to balance them to make sure they are exactly the same. So think of this as a balance. Whatever you do on the left, you have to do on the right. So if I take something from the left, I have to take the same thing from the right. Or if I put something on the left, I have to put the same thing on the right. Because I need to make sure that by the end, I have them equal. Because that's what the sign means. Equal means the left is the same as the right. Now I'm going to go to a little bit of a more complex example that has multiple operations in it, and that's where you're gonna see that it's very important for you to actually know which operations go first. So I'm gonna go with the 2x plus 3 equals to 9. So I kind of use the 2x from there and the plus 3 from there. Now in a normal order of operations type of question, I would have to do the multiplication first and then the addition, because that's the order here, because multiplication is a lot of additions. So, but because I'm solving an equations and I want to go back to actually find the x, I'm going the other way around. So instead of me doing something related to the multiplication first, I will have to do something related to addition. So I'm actually going to the basics of that. And then if I have addition, I need to do the opposite, which is subtraction. So I'm going to have to take away the 3 on both sides. Now, when I take away the 3 on this side, I'm just looking on here. So it's kind of like this 3, take away 3 becomes a 0. So it's kind of all of this thing disappears. And I am left with the 2x equals. And then 9 take away 3, that's 6. And then I am actually the same as in the equation on the top, where I have this is the same as 2 times x. The opposite of times is divide. So I divide by 2 and I'm left with x equals to 3. So again, it was very important for me to know that actually the last thing I'm doing is addition, so I had to go and undo that one first. And again, whatever I did to the left, I had to do on the right. Now, the issue could appear when I have a lot of things happening and they don't really look like that, so I'm not 100% sure what goes first. And that comes from an example like this one, where we have an x plus 2 over 5 equals to 3. So your normal thinking of this, if I follow the same ideas on this side, is that division comes first, then I have to do the addition, and then that equals 3. But actually writing the question like this tells me that I have a bracket somewhere. This type of question tells me that I really have a bracket on the top over there, so I actually have x plus 2 in a bracket over 5 equals to 3, because I always need to do the top over there. So that's kind of the same as if I have a bracket over there. Now, because I have a bracket here, my normal order of operation tells me that I need to do the bracket first and then whatever comes next. So for me would be, I would have to do the bracket first and then divide by 5, because that's the normal order of operations. And due to the fact that I'm solving an equation, I have to go the other way. So I am going to look at the division first. In this case, the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm multiplying by 5 on both sides. And because I multiply by 5 over here, I had something divided by 5, multiplied by 5, that gives me 1. So 1 times x plus 2, that gives me x plus 2 equals, and 5 times 3, that gives me 15. And now I'm in one of those like more basic equations where I have just a plus over there. I know the opposite of plus is take away, so I'm taking away a 2 on both sides, so I'm left with x equals to 13. So it's very important that you are, or you feel very comfortable with the order of operations before you actually go and solve any type of equations, and that's really important. Now also, I want to make a note of this. Most of the questions, like in this bit, they ask you a couple of different things. So if you're confused about what the question could potentially ask you, for you to actually understand that it wants you to solve the equation, you can actually say your basic solve the equation. So that's your basic question. So that could ask you straight away, or it can also ask you find x in my case, or any other letter that the question asks you or gives you in the form over there. And I think it can ask you find the missing number as well, but that's very rare. So most of the time I solve the equation or the following equations and find x or any other letter that it's used in the actual equation. So yeah, and I think these are the most important steps for this one. If you have any questions, please let me know and I will try to answer as soon as possible. And thank you very much for watching this. I will speak with you soon. Bye.